Check your fridge now. H-E-B has issued a recall for olives sold at all its stores.
In November 2023, Spanish and Italian authorities raided facilities in Ciudad Real and seized over 260,000 liters of counterfeit olive oil. The oil, labeled as extra virgin, was actually lampante, the lowest grade of olive oil, historically used as lamp fuel and deemed unfit for human consumption. Now, look at that bottle in your kitchen right now. There's a decent chance it's not what the label claims. A group of researchers recently shocked the food industry when they found that 73% of top-selling imported olive oils failed international quality standards. 73%! Independent labs found them rancid and oxidized. That's what you're eating. That's why I'm exposing 10 toxic olive oil brands that you should avoid today. And stick around for 4 alternatives that you can absolutely trust. Let's start with one that probably surprises you. Number 10. Whole Foods, $3.65. You'd think shopping at Whole Foods would protect you from this mess, right? Premium store, premium prices, surely premium quality. Wrong. In 2014, the National Consumers League tested 11 olive oils purchased from major retailers including Whole Foods. And what were the results? Well, Whole Foods house brand failed to meet extra virgin standards. The testers found it lacking the characteristics that define extra virgin quality. Whole Foods apparently sourced their olive oils from whoever offered the cheapest price, and that organic label on some of their bottles only means the olives were grown without synthetic pesticides. And organic oil can still be rancid garbage. The 2014 testing exposed that disconnect, and honestly, I haven't seen compelling evidence that they've fundamentally changed their sourcing since then. Now the next brand convinces you you're getting a deal while delivering the same disappointing quality. Number 9. Trader Joe's California Estate. Now, TJ's is interesting because their quality is wildly inconsistent. Some of their olive oils are actually decent, but in that same 2014 National Consumers League study, their California Estate variety specifically failed International Olive Council standards. And in 2024, Consumer Reports did new testing and found that while some Trader Joe's oils performed adequately, others still showed quality issues. Here's the problem with Trader Joe's model. They're a private label brand, meaning they don't make anything themselves. They contract with various suppliers, slap a Trader Joe's label on it, and call it a day. So one batch of their olive oil might come from a reputable California producer, the next batch might come from a bulk supplier in Tunisia. And that inconsistency matters more than you might think. A bottle with a harvest date from October 2024 is fresh. A bottle that was harvested in 2022 and has been sitting in a warehouse slowly oxidizing for 2 years? That's rancid oil with drastically reduced health benefits. And if price is your main concern, you're honestly better off using butter or coconut oil. At least then you know what you're getting. At least with Trader Joe's you know you're gambling on unknown suppliers. The next brand hides behind one of the most trusted faces in American food, and they're failing quality tests anyway. Number 8. Newman's Own. Paul Newman's face on the label, his whole charitable mission. The company donates all profits to charity, so how could this possibly be on a failure list? Well, in 2014, Newman's Own olive oil failed the National Consumers League's quality test. It didn't meet the International Olive Council's sensory standards for extra virgin oil. I want to be fair here. Newman's Own does genuinely donate their profits to good causes, but donating money to charity doesn't magically make your olive oil better. They're not growing olives, they're not pressing oil. They're buying bulk oil, bottling it, and selling it with Paul Newman's face on the label. When researchers tested it in 2014, they found it tasted flat. It lacked complexity. There were no tasting notes about fresh-cut grass, green tomatoes, or artichokes, which are the flavor descriptors you get with real extra virgin oil. It was just kind of oily tasting, which suggests either old oil, poorly processed oil, or oil that was never really extra virgin quality to begin with. So if you want to support Newman's charities, buy their salad dressing or lemonade instead. But skip the olive oil. Now this next brand wraps itself in the American flag while delivering some of the worst quality olive oil. Number 7. Pompeian. The brand that's dominated American grocery stores for decades, with aggressive pricing and patriotic marketing, featuring an American flag. You've probably bought it. I definitely bought it before I knew better. In 2011, UC Davis published a bombshell study testing 134 samples of 8 major olive oil brands. Pompeian was one of them. The result was that 73% of Pompeian samples failed international sensory standards for extra virgin olive oil. The tasters consistently detected rancidity and what's called fustiness, which happens when olives sit too long before pressing. It's disgusting when you know what you're tasting. Pompeian's defense after the study came out was that they meet USDA standards. And technically, that's true. But here's the dirty secret about USDA standards for olive oil. They barely exist. That's how Pompeian gets away with it. They're not technically breaking US law, they're just selling you garbage that wouldn't be allowed in the European Union. But what about this next brand that tricks you with Italian heritage marketing, then gets caught? Number 6. Filippo Berio. Another Italian-sounding brand that makes you think you're getting authentic Mediterranean quality. In reality, Filippo Berio failed the UC Davis tests in 2011 with that same 73% failure rate. And then in 2016, they got hit with a class action lawsuit that alleged that Filippo Berio falsely labeled their oil as imported from Italy, when the olives actually came from countries all over the Mediterranean, anywhere except Italy. Now, what's the problem? Well, imported from Italy is a marketing tool that commands a premium price. People pay more for Italian olive oil because of Italy's reputation for quality. If the olives are actually from Tunisia or Morocco, and the oil is just shipped through Italy for bottling, then you're paying for Italian quality and getting commodity oil. The lawsuit was eventually settled in 2017. Filippo Berio agreed to change their labeling and stop using imported from Italy, unless the oil genuinely came from Italian olives. But did they actually fix the underlying quality problems that were there? Given that independent testing before the lawsuit found elevated levels of stigmastidine, a chemical marker that indicates the oil has been deodorized to hide defects, I'm not particularly optimistic. The fact that Filippo Berio's oil showed chemical markers of this process, even on bottles labeled extra virgin, tells you everything. At least Filippo Berio pretends to be premium, but this next brand doesn't even bother with the illusion. Number 5. Star. Star is part of the same parent company as Bertolli and Carapelli, which should immediately tell you something. Star is the budget line, the one designed to undercut competitors on price alone. And in 2011, UC Davis found that 73% of Star samples failed extra virgin standards. They were rancid, fusty, or both. Consumer Reports did their own testing in 2012 and found similar results. Star consistently ranked near the bottom for quality. But here's what's particularly egregious about Star. The packaging is often clear glass or plastic bottles, which means even if the oil starts out decent, it degrades rapidly once it hits the grocery store shelf. Olive oil is sensitive to light and heat. That's why quality producers use dark glass bottles. Star uses clear bottles because they're cheaper, and they let consumers see the oil's color. But color is not an indicator of quality. Star exists to fill the bottom shelf at the absolute lowest price point possible. And in that race to the bottom, quality is the first casualty. There are no harvest dates on Star bottles. No reason whatsoever to trust that what's inside matches the extra virgin label on the outside. In 2024, the North American Olive Oil Association conducted the largest olive oil testing study ever done in the US with 153 oils representing the top 15 brands. You know which brands participated and agreed to testing? California Olive Ranch, Cobram Estate, Lucini. You know which ones didn't? The Bertolli/Carapelli/Star conglomerate. Draw your own conclusions. Star at least telegraphs that it's cheap garbage. The next brand has generations of trust working in their favor. Number 4. Colavita. This one hurts a little because Colavita has genuine Italian heritage and has been a staple in Italian-American communities for generations. But in the UC Davis study, Colavita was among the top 5 imported brands with a 73% failure rate. Food fraud investigators have noted that Colavita sources from bulk suppliers across Spain, Greece, Tunisia, and Italy, blending oils from whoever's cheapest into generic products. Now, blending itself isn't necessarily bad. Many high-quality producers blend different olive varieties to create balanced flavor profiles. The problem with Colavita is the lack of transparency and the quality of the source oils. One investigation I came across noted that Colavita bottles lack harvest dates on their standard product line. Every legitimate producer includes harvest dates because olive oil has a shelf life. It's not like wine. It doesn't improve with age, it degrades. The International Olive Council recommends consuming extra virgin olive oil within 2 years of harvest. but realistically, after 12 to 18 months, you're looking at significant quality loss. Without a harvest date, you could be buying oil that's already 2 or 3 years old and barely clinging to the extra virgin designation on a technicality. And Colavita has been around so long that there's generational trust. Your grandmother used Colavita, your mother used Colavita, so you use Colavita. But these companies know they can coast on reputation while quietly reducing quality to maintain profit margins. If Colavita sounds bad, well, our next brand made headlines with a $7 million lawsuit, threatened bloggers who criticized them, and still got fined by Italian authorities after supposedly cleaning up their act. Earth 3. Bertolli. In 2011, Bertolli failed the UC Davis sensory test with that infamous 73% failure rate. Then in 2014, they got slammed with a $7 million class action lawsuit settlement. The lawsuit, filed by a plaintiff named Scott Kohler, alleged 2 major claims. First, that Bertolli falsely labeled their oil as imported from Italy, when the olives came from at least 7 other countries. Second, that their extra virgin olive oil wasn't actually extra virgin. It was a combination of refined oil and extra virgin oil that oxidized and degraded due to the clear bottles Bertolli used. That second claim is particularly damning because it means even if the oil started as legitimate extra virgin, the packaging destroyed it before consumers ever opened the bottle. Clear glass bottles are death for olive oil. Light causes photodegradation, breaking down the delicate polyphenols and fatty acids that give extra virgin oil its health benefits and flavor. That's why every single quality producer uses dark glass or tin. Bertolli used clear bottles because they look prettier on the shelf and save money on packaging. The result is that oil that might have been decent out of the mill arrives rancid at your kitchen. After years of legal fighting, Bertolli settled for $7 million. They didn't admit wrongdoing, but they agreed to change their labels, stop claiming imported from Italy, unless the oil genuinely came from Italian olives, and switch to dark green bottles. And here's where it gets interesting. After the lawsuit, Bertolli apparently tried to silence critics. Food blogger Leah Seghetti reported that Bertolli threatened to sue her for defamation when she shared the UC Davis study results. That's not the behavior of a company that's cleaned up its act. So, has Bertolli improved since 2014? Maybe. They did switch to dark bottles. But the fundamental issue remains Bertolli is owned by Dioleo, a massive Spanish conglomerate that prioritizes volume over quality. And in 2016, just 2 years after the settlement, Bertolli issued a voluntary recall of their extra virgin olive oil in 20 states due to quality concerns. Plus, the Italian antitrust authority fined Dioleo for mislabeling olive oils in Italian supermarkets that same year. One settlement didn't fix the systemic problems. Now Bertolli is well known enough that people are paying attention, but this next brand flies under the radar with artisan positioning and specialty food credibility. Number 2, Mezzetta. This brand is probably less familiar to some of you because they're better known for their peperoncini and olives, but they also sell olive oil, and it failed independent testing according to multiple sources. The Happy Muncher food quality website listed Mezzetta as one of the premium brands that encountered issues meeting extra virgin standards. Mezzetta positioned themselves as an artisan Italian specialty brand. The jars have that rustic, old-world aesthetic. The marketing emphasizes family tradition, but the oil itself shows the same quality problems as mass-market brands: oxidation, defects, lack of the sensory characteristics that define true extra virgin quality. They take low-grade olive oil, oil that should be refined because it's made from damaged, fermented, or old olives, and they deodorize it chemically to remove the bad smells and flavors. Then they add a small percentage of real extra virgin oil to give it a little color and taste, and they sell that blend as extra virgin. Chemically, it's hard to catch. The oil is 100% olive oil, so it passes purity tests. But it's not extra virgin quality, so it fails sensory testing if you actually bother to do sensory testing. Now, all these other brands are bad, but this number 1 brand has the absolute worst documented case I could find. Number 1, Carapelli. Not just any Carapelli product, specifically their unfiltered extra virgin olive oil. In 2023, Consumer Lab tested 13 popular olive oils, 13 oils representing the biggest brands on US shelves. They sent every bottle through chemical testing at International Olive Council accredited labs. And then they brought in an expert olive oil taster, someone with decades of experience evaluating oils professionally. The taster evaluated aroma, flavor, and overall quality using the official International Olive Council. Sensory protocols. Carapelli Unfiltered was graded as lampante. Let me explain what that means because it's important. Lampante is an Italian word that literally translates to lamp oil. Historically, lampante grade olive oil was used as fuel for oil lamps, not for eating. Modern definitions describe lampante as olive oil not fit for human consumption in its current state. And here's where it gets criminal. Some producers take lampante oil, add chlorophyll to make it green, add beta-carotene to adjust the color, add a tiny bit of real extra virgin to give it some flavor, and then they sell it as extra virgin. That appears to be what happened with Carapelli Unfiltered. The oil was so defective that an expert taster immediately recognized it as lampante grade, yet it was being sold in US stores with an extra virgin label and a premium price tag. And get this, Carapelli is owned by the same Dioleo conglomerate that owns Bertolli, the company that already settled a $7 million lawsuit for mislabeling. The same company that got fined by Italian authorities for olive oil fraud. They're still doing it. And Carapelli specifically markets their unfiltered oil as premium because unfiltered sounds more natural, more authentic, more artisanal. In reality, filtering has nothing to do with quality. High-quality oil can be filtered or unfiltered, but calling it unfiltered lets them charge more money for garbage oil. It's a total scam. Okay, let's take a breath. I know that was a lot of bad news, but they're not all bad. There are some good ones. But first, if this video has been helpful, hit the subscribe button and tell me in the comments. Which of these brands have you been using and would you keep using them after this video? I'd like to know. So, let's get into the good ones. Number 1. Cobram Estate. The absolute best olive oil you can buy at major retailers is Cobram Estate. This Australian company now also produces in California, and they've basically set the gold standard for transparency and quality. Cobram Estate participated in and passed the 2024 NAOOA study. They consistently win awards at international olive oil competitions. And most importantly, they publish their testing results. Every Cobram Estate bottle includes a harvest date and a best buy date. They harvest olives and press them within 4 to 6 hours. That's the window where you get maximum polyphenol retention. They store the oil in nitrogen-capped tanks to prevent oxidation. They bottle in dark glass to protect from light. They publish third-party lab results showing their polyphenol levels, free fatty acid levels, and sensory scores. Cobram Estate is more expensive than mass-market brands. You're looking at $15 to $25 per bottle depending on the variety, but you're getting what you pay for. Number 2. Aldi, Specially Selected Sicilian. The discount grocery chain. But in 2024, Consumer Reports tested 13 olive oils and Aldi's Specially Selected Sicilian Extra Virgin Olive Oil came out on top. It scored high for flavor, passed all purity tests, and costs under $10 per bottle. That's what I call value. Why? Probably because it's a single origin product with some traceability rather than a generic blend. Sicilian olive oils have protected designation of origin status in the EU, which means stricter production standards. And Aldi, despite being a discount chain, has surprisingly rigorous quality control for their private label products. If you're on a budget and you find this specific variety at your local Aldi, grab it. It's probably the best quality to price ratio you'll find anywhere. Number 3. Kirkland Signature Organic, Costco. Now I need to be specific here because Costco sells multiple Kirkland olive oils and quality varies. The organic version specifically has tested well in recent studies. Consumer Reports gave it good marks in 2024. It participated in the NAOOA purity study and passed. The downside is the huge bottle size. You're buying a liter or more, and once you open it, you need to use it within a few months before it oxidizes. Olive oil doesn't last forever, even the good stuff. So my advice with Kirkland Organic is to buy it only if you use olive oil frequently. Also store it properly in a cool, dark place, tightly sealed. And maybe split it with a friend or family member so you're both getting fresh oil. First 4. California Olive Ranch. This brand produces their olive oil domestically from California groves. They passed the UC Davis testing in 2011, when 73% of imported brands failed. They participated in the 2024 NAOOA purity study and passed. They're certified by the California Olive Oil Council, which requires oils to meet strict chemical and sensory standards. And Consumer Reports has consistently rated their products well. What I like about California Olive Ranch is the transparency. They list harvest dates on their bottles. They source from identifiable California farms. They cold press within hours of harvest, which is necessary for preserving quality. Their bottles are dark glass to prevent photo degradation, and they're reasonably priced for what you're getting, usually $12 to $20 depending on the variety. Let's wrap this up. The olive oil industry has serious quality problems. Some brands have documented histories of failing tests, settling lawsuits, and mislabeling products. Others are genuinely making high-quality oil and backing it up with transparency and testing. As consumers, our power is in our purchasing decisions. Stop buying the brands with proven track records of failure and support the brands that are doing it right. Now go check your pantry. If you've got any of those 10 brands we just covered, it's time for an upgrade. Let me know in the comments which brand you're switching to. And if this video just saved you from buying fake olive oil, hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to see it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.